The Penn Relays is the most recognizable track meet in the United States and always held the last weekend in April at historic Franklin Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In 1992, a newcomer to track named Tanya Williams of Norfolk, Virginia's Norview High School was selected to compete in the High School Girls 400 Hurdles Championship of America. Here is Tanya en route to the starting line. What makes this even more amazing is this is only the third time Tanya has ever competed in the 400-meter hurdles. And now, being introduced by the PA announcer. This is the start of the race, and Tanya is out very fast to the first hurdle. And let's fast forward to the midway point of the race with the PA announcer telling us who is leading. Yes, that is Tanya Williams leading at the midway point of the race. However, before we see how this race ends, we must first examine these 5 areas which led to this moment and to the creation of Norfolk Real Deal Track Club. Pioneers, the Tidewater area of Virginia, the early 1970s. Founders and vision. Hello, my name is Walt Green and I will be narrating this 10-part film from the first person point of view. I combine parts 1, 2, and 3 for this special segment, and the other 7 parts will be released separately. Parts 1 and 2 includes the events leading to the creation of Norfolk Real Deal, and part 3 is the club's first 3 years. This segment will also include interviews from
Alvita Valentine Green, Virginia State University.
Bruce Manley, Maury High School.
Tanya Williams, University of Illinois.
Tamina Daniels, D. Norview High School.
Jennifer Williams, Moray High School.
Fatima Martin, Indian River High School.
Kermit Foster, Atlantic Coast Club.
Chick Riebel, Edenton, North Carolina.
Delana Walker Rogers, Lake Taylor.
J.C. Coleman, Virginia Tech.
Vincent Pugh, Minor High School.
Donald Samuel, George Mason University.
Kelvin Bailey, Norfolk State University.
Jamin Elliott, Party Down, P-Town.
And Dwayne Miller, Norfolk State University. Now, let's examine the 5 areas. First, pioneers. In the early 1930s, John McClendon became the first black student to enroll in the University of Kansas Physical Education program, where his mentor was the department chairman, Dr. James Naismith, who also invented the game of basketball in 1891, and in 1898 started a basketball program at the University of Kansas. McClendon was not allowed to play on the school's basketball team because of segregation. However, he learned all of the intricacies of basketball from Naismith, and in 1941 became the head basketball coach at the North Carolina College for Negroes, now today North Carolina Central University. He was an innovator and one of the founders of the highly successful CIAA tournament. McClendon would win 8 CIAA titles from 1941 through 1951 and was a great recruiter. 2 of his last recruits at the North Carolina College for Negroes were Sam Jones from Laurinburg Institute located in Laurinburg, North Carolina, and the other recruit was from Norfolk, Virginia's Booker T. Washington High School, Walter H. Green Sr., who is also my dad, and I will refer to him as both Green Sr. and Dad in this film. Green Sr. and Sam Jones were freshmen on the 1952 team. However, at the end of the season, the great coach John McClendon announced that he was leaving to accept another coaching job. Even though they were upset Coach McClendon was leaving, Green Sr. and Jones felt blessed to have been affiliated with greatness. Green Sr. said he remained inspired with what Coach McClendon wrote in his yearbook, "The Eagles Fly High," and "Good Luck Eagles," a reference to both the school and to Green Sr. Let's see how McClendon's last 2 recruits, Jones and Green Sr., transpired after he left. First, Sam Jones. Sam Jones would become a 3-time All-CIAA performer and had his school jersey retired, and in 1957 was drafted in the NBA's first round by the Boston Celtics, where he would win 10 NBA championships while earning the nickname Mr. Clutch.
Rebound goes up, Russell. Now Sam Jones. Sam Jones racing into the forecourt. Sam under for the driving layup and hits to Sam. Sam alone.
Sam Jones, one of the NBA all-time greats, now to McClendon's other recruit, Green Sr. Green Sr. also played baseball at North Carolina College for Negroes, and one day while retrieving fly balls at practice, the track coach noticed his speed. The track coach was the legendary Leroy Walker. Walker, like Coach John McClendon, was an innovator. Walker developed many training methods that are still used today. North Carolina College for Negroes also had a future two-time Olympic gold medalist on the team, Hurtler Lee Calhoun. Green Sr. would also join the track team that spring while still playing baseball. However, after winning several track awards, Green Sr. would specialize in track only the following season, which was also his senior year in college. Green Sr. would be unique by lettering in 3 different sports, basketball, baseball, and track, and was a proud member of the North Carolina College for Negroes prestigious Letterman's Club. Green Sr. would receive his degree in May 1955 and return home to Norfolk, Virginia to teach at Carver Junior High School with an additional duty of coaching the track team. Green Sr. also kept in touch with track coach Leroy Walker, and this letter to Green in 1956 informs him of former teammate Lee Calhoun's progress leading to the 1956 Olympic Games. In those days, until the late 1980s, all divisions 1, 2, and 3 would compete at the NCAA track championship. Calhoun would win the NCAA and later make the Olympic team and head to Melbourne, Australia.
110 high hurdles, with Navy Lieutenant Jack Davis second from left, Lee Calhoun second from right. Davis and Calhoun match stride for stride, but in a photo finish, it's Calhoun by a whisker in the record time of 13 and a half seconds. With Lieutenant Davis second and Joe Schenkel third, it's the USA all the way.
Calhoun would also win the 1960 Rome Olympic Games in another photo finish. Let's summarize these 4 great pioneers who had a direct influence of Green Sr. and inspired him to be great. His track coach, Leroy Walker, coached the 1976 USA Olympic team and was also the first black to head the USA International Olympic Committee. Coach Walker is in several Hall of Fames, including the USA Track and Field. His basketball coach, John McClendon, would win many championships, including one with the pro team Cleveland Pipers, where he was also the first black to coach a pro team in any sport. Coach McClendon is in several Hall of Fames, including the NBA. His basketball teammate, Mr. Clutch, Sam Jones, along with his 10 NBA championship rings, is in several Hall of Fames, including the NBA. His track teammate, Lee Calhoun, along with his 2 Olympic gold medals, is in several Hall of Fames, including the USA Track and Field. On July the 20th, 1957, Green Sr. would marry Alveda Valentine, and when they returned home from their honeymoon, something was waiting for Green Sr.
When we got home from our honeymoon, he had this letter that says, "Greetings. You have been selected by your friends and neighbors, and you're drafted to the United States Army." That was devastating. We had just gotten married and had an apartment, and we thought we were going to be living in our apartment and starting a family.
However, the family would start the next year with Alveda, a year after her Darlene, and a year after that myself. Green Sr. spent 2 years in the Army, including 1 year teaching at Fort Story in nearby Virginia Beach, before going back to his regular teaching job in Norfolk. He was also spending his spare time working on a master's degree in guidance, which he would complete in 1964 at Hampton Institute, now Hampton University. The second area we will examine is Tidewater, which is located in the southeastern corner of Virginia, a region known by several names, including
I call it Hampton Road.
757.
It's Tidewater.
I will refer to this entire area, including the peninsula, as Tidewater, which is home to every branch of the military, including the world's largest naval base in Norfolk, Virginia. Per capita, the Tidewater area is arguably the most fertile sports area in the world. It consists of several counties along with the city of Norfolk, which is the hub of this area, and the cities of Portsmouth, Suffolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Hampton, Newport News, and Williamsburg. The Tidewater area has produced NFL Hall of Famers Lawrence Taylor, Bruce Smith, Kenny Easley, Ace Parker, who also played pro baseball, and here he is running a touchdown in college for Duke. In basketball, we had the answer in Mr. Crossover, aka Allen Iverson, who is also in the NBA Hall of Fame, along with locals Alonzo Mourning and Coach Lefty Drizel. Also from our area is Joe Smith, Mike Vick, and Justin Upton. In the sport of wrestling, Hall of Famer Billy Martin, the inventor of the Granby Roll. In golf, Hall of Famer Curtis Strange. In soccer, gold medalist Angela Hucles. In gymnastics, gold medalist Gabby Douglas. And of course in track and field, gold medalist Steve Riddick. Along with club alum and gold medalist Francina McCorry, club alum and gold medalist Natasha Colander, and club alum and three-time gold medalist LaShawn Merritt, who is also our most decorated alum. In Super Bowl 43, club alum Plaxico Burress caught the winning touchdown, and the next year in Super Bowl 44, the winning coach was Mike Tomlin, who is also from the Tidewater area. And from the sport of boxing,
in 1984, he captured Olympic gold from Norfolk, Virginia. The four-time world champion, pound-for-pound king, world Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
Rest in peace, champ. Sweet Pea Whitaker was 55 years old when he died, but his legacy will continue to live, along with the gift of hope Sweet Pea left to many people. Why does the Tidewater area in Virginia produce so much greatness?
That's a good question.
Okay, let me think about this. I'm an intellectual, so.
If I could give a real answer to it, I'd be a very rich man.
I don't know if it's something in the water here, if it's because we're on the beach.
What makes this area special? The military.
It's competition. We're a very competition-heavy area.
Athleticism is big.
The way that we're separated with, Virginia Beach and Norfolk, and then, across the water and Hampton and all that, just regionally, the pride that comes in, with our athletes.
Something in the water, man. I think it's something in the water. I don't know what's in the water, but it's something in the water.
And musical genius Pharrell Williams agrees and named his great musical festival on the beach Something in the Water. Pharrell is also from Tidewater, along with another musical genius, Songwriters Hall of Famer, Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. The Something in the Water phrase here is not a cliche because the area is surrounded by water, including the Atlantic Ocean, Chesapeake Bay, and several rivers. But this is guaranteed.
You know you're going to get great talent.
Now, back to the hub of the Tidewater area, the city of Norfolk. According to historians, in the early 1900s, when Norfolk was still a county, a streetcar ran from one end of Norfolk, the downtown area, or NOR, to the other end of Norfolk, the Ocean View area, or VIEW. They combined the NOR and the VIEW, and they called the midway point of the streetcar route Norview. Norview High School plays a big part in this track journey, starting in 1967, when Green Sr. became the first black guidance counselor at Norview High School. The following school year, he also became Norview's head cross-country coach. This also made him the first black head coach at an integrated Norfolk Public High School in any sport. From this point on in the film, I will refer to Green Sr. as Dad. The transition to being the first black was not smooth, as our family soon discovered. Not everyone was happy about a black man coaching their white children in track and field. We were awoke one night to a burning cross on the field that was located right beside our house. And another night, our car was overturned in our driveway. Even though I was a child, of course I remember both incidents. Law enforcement investigated and no one was charged, and eventually the investigation was closed. Anyway, we didn't have any more problems. As far as coaching was concerned, my dad said, once the parents and the students realized that you are interested in their child, they forgot all their race business completely. The team and their parents realized that my dad was concerned, and they bonded leading to a successful season. Also, the students he counseled realized my dad's genuine interest. Like the yearbook caption says, Mr. Green, he's everybody's buddy. The third area to be examined is the early 1970s. The Jackson 5 career was launched by their first 4 songs reaching #1, but the year 1970 was special to me because that is when I first got involved with sports. Playing sports, going to sporting events, and watching sports on TV. I watched my first Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Minnesota Vikings, won by Kansas City. Also, I became a huge basketball fan, and most Saturdays, LSU games were televised because of Pistol Pete Maravich, who averaged 44 points per game. Most Sundays, the Milwaukee Bucks games were televised because of Rookie of the Year, Lou Alcindor, now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, watching him develop his patented skyhook. However, in 1970, the MVP was the New York Knicks' Willis Reed, who got injured in the championship series but made a brief return in Game 7, making his first 2 shots to inspire the Knicks to the championship. My dad was also the assistant track coach at Northview High School. The head coach was Warren Walters, who would also coach me at Northview years later. On Saturday, April 11, 1970, my dad took me with the team to my first track meet, the Colonial Relays, at the College of William and Mary. I thoroughly enjoyed and loved the meet. There were lots of athletes, sprint races, distance races, hurdle races, relay races, and also field events. High school, college, and club teams competed, and I even watched future gold medalist Steve Riddick compete as a high school senior that day. The next Saturday again, I went with the Northview track team to their meet, the Norfolk Invitational Relays at Foreman Field, where you could only see the runners run on the straightaway because both curves were beneath the bleachers. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed and loved the track and field experience and went to 5 more meets that spring. I have been hooked to the sport of track and field since. Big news came that summer when a professional ABA team, the Washington Caps, relocated to Virginia, with Norfolk being the hub. Their name would be the Virginia Squires. The team featured future Hall of Famer Rick Barry, but he demanded a trade. And despite the Squires owner, Earl Foreman, vowing to keep Barry, he was sold before the season started to the New York Nets. Barry also added he did not want his son using words like y'all, a reference to the South. I was at this game when Barry came to town and the Squires fan booed him every single time he touched the ball. The Squires played their Norfolk games at the brand new ODU Fieldhouse while their future home, Scope, was being built in downtown Norfolk. The Squires, led by Rookie of the Year, Charlie Scott, won the East Division regular season championship but were upset in the playoffs by the Kentucky Colonels 4-2, ending their season. In 1971, I played organized sports for the first time. A basketball team, the Bucks, and that summer at the Boys Club, I played softball with the Hawks and competed at track where I got my first 3 sports awards, all medals, a bronze in the softball throw, a silver in the high jump, and a gold medal in the broad jump. By the fall of 1971, Scope was no longer a shell, but a completed state-of-the-art coliseum and Norfolk's brand new home for the Squires. I was at the first sporting event, the Squires versus the Carolina Cougars. Year 2 for the Squires also brought the Squires a sensational rookie by the name of Julius Irvin, aka Dr. J, who would become legendary. And I saw him do incredible things his rookie year that are not on video. However, it was evident that Dr. J would be great. Also, in 1972, our rec team, also named the Squires, won the highly competitive Norfolk City Championship in the 10-11 age division. The following year, in 1973, we won the city championship again, this time in the 12-13 age group. My dad coached both teams, and a year later, in 1974, I added a baseball championship to my resume. Sports taught me very early in life the importance of hard work and teamwork, and the greatness that can come when both work together. Now back to 1972. We played a team, the Wildcats, with 2 very competitive brothers, Bruce and Mike Manley. Stick a pin in Bruce Manley's name and we will come back to him later. Fourth, let's meet the 2 founders, starting with myself. Ninth grade year, I ran cross country for Norview's varsity team, and my only goal was to place in the top 10 so that my name would be in the newspaper. I made the paper 4 times out of a possible 5. My 10th grade year, again I ran varsity cross country and I also played JV basketball during the winter. During the spring, I ran varsity track and we won the city championship. My junior year of high school, our cross country team finished 3rd in the district and we were favored to win cross country my senior year. By this time, I also realized that my future was in track and not basketball. Therefore, I did not play basketball in the winter, but instead I ran indoor track. However, after 2 meets, they canceled our season. In the spring of 1977, we won the district track championship, and I continued to train during the summer to get ready for the upcoming cross-country season, which would be my senior year. Our cross-country team broke a 16-year drought at Norview when we won the district championship my senior year. And in the spring of 1978, our track team won again to make us back-to-back district champions. My senior year at Norview High School, we won a record 8 out of 12 championships in all sports. I was blessed to be part of 2 of those teams with cross country and track. I received a track scholarship to Virginia State College, now Virginia State University, located in Petersburg, Virginia, about an hour-and-a-half drive from my hometown in Norfolk, Virginia. Virginia State University is a historically black college university with a very rich history. Virginia State has a beautiful campus known as the Hill because it is located on a hill with rolling landscape overlooking the Appomattox River. In 1978, I started my freshman year at Virginia State and decided to major in business administration. Our track coach was Hall of Famer William P. Bennett, who was very smart and knowledgeable. He also knew how to win and won many championships, and his last championship was over the always powerful St. Augustine, coached by legend and 2004 USA Olympic coach George Williams. Back to my freshman year. I was mediocre in both cross country and track, and at the end of the season, Coach Bennett did not renew my track scholarship. I would not have renewed it either, and now I was faced with a big decision. Should I go back to Virginia State? But first, let's remove the pen from Bruce Manley's name and let's meet him because he is the other co-founder of Norfolk Real Deal. We will start with Bruce, his senior year at Maury High School in Norfolk, Virginia.
And when I got to high school, I played quarterback, which I played my whole life.
Bruce was an excellent quarterback, leading the underrated Maury Commodores to a 7-3 record. An all-district dual-threat quarterback. Number 11 was a very fast and elusive runner. Bruce also led the Tidewater area in touchdown passes. After excelling in football, Bruce was the co-captain of a very talented Maury basketball team, which included his previously mentioned brother, number 10, rest in peace, Mike Manley. They were coached by legend Jack Baker, then in his 3rd year of a remarkable 41-year coaching career, all at Maury High School.
But one thing Jack Baker gave us was heart, though. He would question you, he would stand you up, and he would challenge you. We made a run, and it was all because of Jack Baker. Jack Baker said, look, we're a team. We're not one player, we're not 2 players, we're a team. And we had a great run. We made it all the way to the state final, and we lost a really, really close game in the final. After the state final, we had an all-star team. Our starting 5 was, I was started at guard, Grant Robinson, who played at ODU, started at the other guard, Ralph Sampson started at the center, Mark West started at the forward, and Julius Norman started at the small forward. All-star team.
Despite being heavily recruited in football, including schools like Tennessee, Bruce did this.
Actually, after high school, I went to work at the shipyard. One day I was working, thinking about football, and I blew my nose and it had black soot in it. From that moment on, I said, I gotta get out of here.
In the early 1970s, Norfolk State College, now Norfolk State University, was a track and field powerhouse, having won 2 NCAA Division II championships. Adding the fact that they didn't have a track to practice, this feat was simply amazing. The head track coach was William Dick Price, also an assistant football coach, and featured the previously mentioned gold medalist Steve Riddick. However, in 1974, after winning his second NCAA track title, Coach Price became the interim head football coach and won Norfolk State's first ever CIAA football championship. The interim label was removed, and the next season, the football team won another title. In 1976, Coach Price and the Norfolk State Spartans won their third consecutive CIAA championship, and in 1979, Coach Dick Price was named Tidewater's Man of the Decade because of his huge impact to the area. Coach Price had also offered Bruce a football scholarship out of high school.
Dick Price, who also was a big influence on me also, he said, you know, you had to try out. I walked on as a freshman, started my second game, played very well, was getting a lot of publicity, actually made the all-freshman team, All-American.
Even though I lost my track scholarship, I decided, or I guess the better word is I was able to return to Virginia State University, thanks to my parents, which made me feel terrible because I always had a goal that they would never ever have to pay 1 cent for me to go to school, but I would take care of that later. And for the first time in my life, I was not involved with sports. I was always solid academically, but school was just not the same. I planned to stay home back in Norfolk when the semester ended, but first I went to the job placement office on campus to inquire about the co-op program. Co-op is short for cooperative education and is a structured method of combining classroom-based education with practical work experience and provides academic credit for structured job experience. In layman's terms, co-op is when you leave school for an entire semester to work full-time in your major field, and in my case, I received 6 hours school credit. Then when the work semester is over, you go back to school again for an entire semester. Then you repeat the process. A complete co-op experience requires you doing 2 semesters. And if you do a good job, that business will usually hire you when you get your degree. Virginia State's co-op office got me an interview with the United States government, and I was selected to co-op at the Naval Weapons Station, Yorktown, in the Civilian Personnel Department, starting in January 1980. This was perfect because I could stay home in Norfolk and make the 35-minute drive to Yorktown. I had a great co-op experience and was recommended to return for a second co-op. Since I missed a semester of ROTC, I had to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky that summer so that I could be in the advanced ROTC program when I got back to Virginia State in the fall. In the fall of 1980, I was back at Virginia State and back on the cross-country team. I was running much better this time. However, this would be my last semester running because of 2 other obligations. The first obligation was advanced ROTC, which included going to advanced summer camp for 6 weeks. And the other obligation was my second co-op assignment at Naval Weapons Station, Yorktown, which started in the fall of 1981. I also joined the Virginia National Guard, a field artillery unit based in Norfolk that fall while on co-op as part of the simultaneous membership program, which means you participate in both the Guard and your college ROTC program at the same time. Meanwhile, the fall of 1981 should have been Bruce's sophomore year at Norfolk State. However...
And I got in some trouble in school. So the coach decided to put me off the team for a year.
The Armory was located on Virginia Beach Boulevard in Norfolk, and while leaving my swearing-in ceremony in September 1981, I saw a familiar face.
One day, I'm walking down Virginia Beach Boulevard, and this is probably the most depressed I've ever been in my life. I was supposed to be playing football. I'm a young kid, grew up in sports. Now I'm walking down Virginia Beach Boulevard, don't have enough money to catch the bus, so I walked it. And all of a sudden, my buddy Walt Green pulls up. And he's going about 80 miles per hour. He pulls over and said, "Bruce." And I said, "Walt, what you doing out here?" I said, "I'm going to work." So he said, "Get in." So I got in, and he said, "Why you not playing football?" I said, "I'm not going back."
I then told him about losing my track scholarship and how bad that made me feel. However, I was now close to getting my degree.
As the friend he is, he said, "Yes, you are."
I told him to go back to school in the spring semester.
He didn't say, okay. He didn't say you should think about it. He said, "No, you're going back to play football."
Bruce had been a freshman All-American. Now he wasn't even enrolled in school. I said, "You got to go back." I told him to go back. I said, "You got to go back to school."
And that inspired me to go back.
In January 1982, I went back on the hill at Virginia State for the spring semester, and Bruce was back enrolled at Norfolk State, and we kept in touch.
When I went back to school, Walt kind of kept an eye on me. We stayed close, we talked, and
it was great Bruce was back in school. However, he was still not on the football team, but Bruce is very smart, and he had a plan that sounded very familiar.
Again, I go back to Dick Price and said, I'm coming back. And Dick Price said, no, you got to earn a way back. So I had no problem with that. I started again, first game of the season.
Bruce was back making an impact on the team, and fall 1982 was also the beginning of my senior year at Virginia State. My previous years, I always lived on campus, first Williams Hall, then Puryear Hall, and last Langston Hall. But my senior year, I was blessed to live off campus at River Road Apartments in this unit. My homeboy from Norfolk and former football player, Darryl Barnes, was my roommate. He was very business-minded and innovative. I learned a lot from Darryl, and he is also a very highly successful businessman today. Even though I was now finished with co-op, I still had to go home once a month to Norfolk to drill with my Army National Guard unit. And in May of 1983, I was honorably discharged from the unit. Then on May the 13th, 1983, I got commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army, and it was a very proud day for me because my parents pinned my bars on me, and 2 days later, on May the 15th, I received my degree in business administration at Virginia State University. Best weekend of my life, the completion of one phase and the beginning of the next. Virginia State University was very good to me. Outstanding education, met good people, 2 co-ops, track team, ROTC, and of course, the HBCU experience. Back at Norfolk State, Bruce was still having his HBCU experience with a superb junior year, and some NFL scouts were watching him along with this other Norfolk native on the far left, Bruce Smith, then at Virginia Tech, and now NFL Hall of Famer. Before Norfolk State's final game that season, the team received some stunning news. Coach Dick Price was resigning after the game. Also in the fall of 1983, I reported to my first duty station, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, for the Field Artillery Officer Basic course, which lasted 5 months. I graduated on March 2, 1984. Then I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for airborne school to earn my jump wings. In May of 1984, I arrived at my permanent duty station in Kissingen, Germany with the 2nd Battalion 39th Field Artillery, part of the 3rd Infantry Division, where Artie Murphy became the most decorated soldier in World War II. The 3rd Infantry Division, aka Rock of the Marne, has a very storied history with lots of success and accomplishments. I was a field artillery officer, and I spent most of 1984 on different field maneuvers all over Germany. Back at Norfolk State, 81 coaches applied for the head football coach job. However, one applicant stood out and had built nearby Virginia Union University into a powerhouse. Willard Bailey, who was also a graduate of Norfolk State, was selected for the job.
What made my father a winner as a coach was whoever he worked with, they had a complete buy-in with his personality, with his ideals. He put God first. Once he made that home visit and talked to their parents, it was a wrap. Their parents wouldn't allow them to go anywhere else. And he always promised that no matter what, that they would be graduating from that university. There's a high rate of graduation.
He also knew how to win championships and had a high rate of winning. In his first year, Coach Bailey would lead Norfolk State to the CIAA championship in a very high ranking. Bruce had a great senior year, along with being an All-American, and was an NFL prospect at cornerback. Bruce also achieved his goal of winning a championship.
And I got the ring to show it right here.
1985 was a game changer for me because thanks to the U.S. Army, I coached for the first time in my 2 favorite sports. First, a championship basketball team for my unit, and during that spring, I organized and coached the consolidated track team for several installations in the Würzburg area. Being spread out made this very challenging. I quickly learned how to coordinate along with how to improvise. It paid off when we won the 7-court track championship, which helped our Würzburg community win the 1985 Seven Quarters Cup. My Devarty commander, Colonel Creighton Abrams, is the son of the legendary General Creighton Abrams Jr., who the M1 Abrams tank is named. Coaching those two championship teams in 1985 really piqued my interest in coaching. Back in the United States, Bruce was fulfilling his dream to play in the NFL as a defensive back.
I actually had a free agent contract to play with Seattle.
The Seattle Seahawks featured our previously mentioned Hall of Fame homeboy Kenny Easley, who was the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Bruce was having an impressive summer camp prior to getting devastating news.
So I went from 5th string to 2nd string. Oh, and I probably had my best scrimmage ever. I mean, Kenny gave me compliments, the defensive back coach gave me compliments. And when I went back to my room, the head coach came and told me my pop had passed. Should I stay here? What would he want? So I decided to go home. Once I went to the funeral and I came back, the NFL is different. You can't give them a chance to let somebody else come and play your position. It definitely had a different effect on it once I got back. Because now I won't 2nd string no more. I was back to 5th string.
In May of 1986, my survey section won the 3rd Infantry Division section competition. This meant a lot to me because of how we excelled under pressure. The previous year, I coached 2 sports championship teams, but this military achievement was so special. In June, I was awarded an Army Achievement Medal for being the officer in charge, and without a doubt, coaching and leading are basically the same. Then, in September of 1986, I was awarded another medal, and my 3-year Army obligation was over. At my farewell dinner, I told them that I would use my leadership and coaching skills when I returned to Norfolk. After being honorably discharged, I was transferred to an Army Reserve unit at Fort Story in Virginia Beach. In December 1986, I became an agent with New York Life Insurance Company, based in their Norfolk General Office. In June 1987, Bruce would try out again, this time with the Dallas Cowboys.
Tried out for the Cowboys, went there, came back home.
After getting released, Bruce would start working for VEPCO, now Dominion Virginia Power, where he recently retired after working 32 years. And the 5th and final area is vision. In 1987, Bruce and I decided that we would do something to make a difference in the community. What exactly we would do, we weren't sure of, but we knew we were going to do something.
We talked about having something, we talked about giving back, because we felt like that we had something to give back. Walt had that same kind of attitude that I have. It's a win attitude.
Part 10 of this film is going to summarize, but it is worth noting right now that in 2018, Lieutenant General Darrell Williams became the first black superintendent of the United States Military Academy. And it's a very small world, because in 1979, Williams' Mount Vernon basketball team beat Bruce's Maury team by 1 point in the state championship game. Also, in the mid-1980s, I served with Darrell in Germany with the 3rd Infantry Division. We were both lieutenants. On Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday on January 15, 1988, we started an organization called YBBA for Young Black Business Association to show togetherness and trust among young black people. These are the actual notes from the meeting. Also in 1988, my dad retired from Granby High School. He had been their guidance department chairman since 1971, and you guessed it, another first black. This time, the first black to head a guidance department at an integrated high school in Norfolk. Again, part 10 of this film is going to summarize, but it is worth noting right now that both my dad and Coach Price are members of the Hampton Roads African American Sports Hall of Fame. Norfolk State's football stadium is named after Coach Price, and Philpotts Road in Norfolk, Virginia is an honorarium to my dad. Now back to the story. On July the 20th, 1988, ironically my parents' 31st wedding anniversary, we changed the name to Real Deal Enterprise, which eventually became the nonprofit we are today, Norfolk Real Deal. Earlier, Bruce and I had discussed changing the name from YBBA to something with more flair. I've always liked the phrase Real Deal because it means something is authentic. Also, this contributed.
Brother-in-law, Pernell Whitaker, and the boss called Van the Real Deal Holyfield.
Pete and Holyfield were also teammates on the 1984 USA Olympic team and good friends. However, we decided to change the name to Real Deal because we wanted to be the best in whatever we decided to do. We decided since sports was our niche and how much sports had helped us, that we would do something that involved sports in some capacity. Our vision was to help the community through sports. These 5 things: pioneers, the Tidewater area, the early 1970s, founders, and vision are the foundation of Norfolk Real Deal. This is where the journey officially begins. 1991, year 1 of the journey. In 1991, I coached a youth basketball team ages 13 and 14, the Bayside Trailblazers, and we sponsored our first event, a 14 basketball tournament in Norfolk, won by the Oak Leaf Forest Raiders. That summer, we sponsored another event, a fellowship game with our summer basketball team, Bayside Real Deal, against Oak Leaf Forest. We won by 1 point in overtime. Additionally, in 1991, our organization became members of the AAU and the TAC, now USA Track and Field. We got our business cards and we were ready to come out running, literally, at the start of this journey. Next on the agenda was finding Norfolk track athletes, and I met Maury High's Jennifer Williams at the 1991 state meet. She became our first member.
I do recall meeting Coach Green, and I recall him talking about wanting to start a track club, which was phenomenal because in the Norfolk area, track clubs were pretty much almost non-existent. It always feels great to be a charter member or part of the foundation of something that has grown to touch so many people's lives.
Our second member was Tanya Williams from Norview High School, who was running her first year of track.
I couldn't practice or anything because I was working, so I only ran in the track meets on Wednesdays and no practice my 11th grade year.
And still finished 4th in the state in the 300-meter hurdles, which was amazing. The only reason Tanya's track career even started her junior year was because of Norview's field hockey coach, Jackie Hall, who was also Norview's girls' head track coach.
I played field hockey, and the agreement was if she coached track, I would run. Jackie Hall was no nonsense. She was tough, but she motivated us. She pushed us. She was supportive. She was always there for us.
I contacted Coach Hall, who arranged for Tanya to run with us at our first meet the following Saturday, the state AAU meet in Richmond, Virginia. Jennifer also went to our first meet on June 8, 1991, along with Bruce, myself, and Jennifer's brother, Alan Williams, now a veteran NFL coach. Tanya and Jennifer did great. Tanya ran the 400-meter hurdles for the first time. Norfolk Real Deal also made the newspaper for the first time. The next Saturday, there was another meet in Richmond, Virginia, the state TAC meet, and Coach Hall asked me could another Norview runner join us. This runner was Tamina Daniels, our third and final charter member.
And he came around the corner in a gray shark-skin suit. He had a stopwatch in his hand. That's the only reason why we knew he was the coach. Coach Green with his gray shark-skin suit on. And we were talking about him, you know, how he's going to be a coach dressed that way. And I remember at the end of practice, I was throwing up.
For the record, I usually wear sports gear to practice, but I did not have time to change clothes that day. At our second meet, Tamina competed and Jennifer got hurt. Tanya ran the 400-meter hurdles for the second time, and this would be her last race till 1992. Tamina will continue to compete the rest of the summer at local meets and earn Most Outstanding. In August of 1991, we had a banquet to recognize our summer basketball team and our inaugural track team. That fall, Tamina ran cross country for the first time and made all-district. Tanya also made all-district in field hockey. Also that fall, we hosted the first Virginia AAU cross country championship and took a boys cross country team to the AAU Nationals in Birmingham, Alabama. Mike Brown earned All-American and the team finished 8th out of 34 teams. Cross country will be covered in detail in part 4 of this 10-part film. 1992, year 2 of the journey. In the winter, Tamina and Tanya played basketball at Norview while Jennifer was a cheerleader at Maury. Norfolk Public Schools did not have indoor track, and on February the 27th of 1992, We, as in Norfolk Real Deal, had an informal championship meet at Norview, which Tanya dominated. Also, that same day, I joined Coach Hall's staff at Norview as a volunteer assistant for the outdoor track season at Norview, which was beginning. Since Tanya was still new to track, she was still using a standing start at the beginning of the season, even in the sprint races, but that did not stop her from winning. And yes, of course, we would teach her later how to use blocks. Tanya was also a good long jumper, triple jumper, and high jumper, and her specialty was the 300-meter hurdles. Tanya was also a very dominant 200-meter runner. Tanya was, no pun intended, the real deal. Our local newspaper, the Virginia Pilot Legistar, covers the area which includes the cities of Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, and Suffolk. In 1992, high school Olympic sports like track and field got very little coverage in the paper. The Virginia Pilot would print track results a week later in each city tabloid, which came with the Sunday newspaper. Therefore, since I lived in Norfolk, I got all the Norfolk track results every Sunday via the Norfolk Compass. To get results for the Virginia Beach schools, I would drive to Virginia Beach for the Beacon, then drive to Chesapeake for the Clipper, then drive to Portsmouth for the Currents. Next, I had to merge the results by event to get a listing for our area. Very time consuming, but worth it. On Saturday, April 11th, 1992, at the Captain's Classic at Christopher Newport College, Tanya ran the nation's fastest time in the 300-meter hurdles, which would also allow her to compete in the upcoming pin relays. Tanya's time of 42.10 seconds got her immediate exposure and her first feature article in the Norfolk Compass. I also showed the sports writer Steve Carlson my area track listing, and he asked me would I do the ranking for the Virginia Pilot newspaper to be printed weekly. Of course I said yes, because that meant more exposure to the sport of track and field, along with recognition to Norview and Norfolk Real Deal Track Club. Now that we know the entire background, let's go back to Tanya's pin relays race. This is the start of the 400-meter hurdle race, and Tanya's out very fast to the first hurdle. In the staggered hurdle races, you can tell who's leading by the first to clear the hurdle. And this is only Tanya's third time ever running the 400-meter hurdles. The other two times were with us, Real Deal, last summer. Some states run 300-meter hurdles like Virginia. Other states like Pennsylvania run 400-meter hurdles. And as you can see, she is leading at the midway point of the pin relays 400 meters Championship of America race. However, the girl on her outside in the purple top is closing fast. Right now they're even. However, Tanya's fading. She's still in second though. And she's struggling badly, and that's because of that extra 100 meters, which makes a huge difference, as you see. With 5 meters left in the race, Tanya's in third place. Watch this. Just like that, Tanya went from third place to sixth place in the last 5 meters. That would be the last hurdle race Tanya would lose that year.
I kind of crashed and burned at the end. I hadn't really ran 400 hurdles. I was more accustomed to running the 300, and I ran that race like I ran the 300s, where to me it was just a start and finish. I could hit the straightaway, get on the curve, and then I'm home. I didn't realize how much of a difference that 100 meters made.
3 weeks later at her district meet, Tanya would win 6 events. The long jump, triple jump, high jump, 300-meter hurdles, 100-meter dash, and here she is winning her 6th event in the 200-meter dash. The following week, she had an outstanding regional meet, and at the state meet, Tanya almost single-handedly won the meet for Norview, who finished third to make history for a Norfolk public school.
Now, I do know that I almost won the state meet by myself. I saw it in the paper. I don't like to say me by myself because the relay was also there, so it was a team. I did pull in most of the points, but it was a team.
Tanya finished the season as the nation's #1 300-meter hurdler, and as this caption says, is a top priority, a reference to the 2 premier high school postseason meets in 1992. You had to get invited to compete. These 2 meets were the Golden West and Keebler. First was the Golden West Invitational in Sacramento, California.
That was far and really been a long ways and with a lot of different athletes from everywhere. I met a lot of people. It was a learning experience. Golden West was so much fun. And I won. And so it felt good.
The other elite meet was Keebler in Elmhurst, Illinois.
What I remember the most about Keebler, my aunt came to that track meet. For the whole time that I ran track, my family members rarely, I'm not going to say never, but it's almost never, made it to any of my track meets.
USA presents the 21st Annual Keebler International Prep Track and Field Invitational, but is considered to be the world's greatest high school track and field meet.
Especially my aunt, because I don't think she realized the potential that I had, and I wanted her to see it. And she did make it. I still don't think she understood, but I ran my fastest time. Keebler was probably my favorite meet because of that reason.
The women's 300 saw Tanya Williams set a new Keebler record, winning wire to wire 41 and 52 100ths of a second.
This was her last 300-meter hurdle race because in college and beyond, they only run 400-meter hurdles. Also, the high school postseason was starting to change when another meet started with qualifying standards instead of being invited. The National Scholastic knew this concept worked from their highly successful national indoor meet. Golden West and Keebler today are non-existent. Now back to Tanya's postseason. Next was
going to Ohio
for the TAC Junior Nationals, today known as USA Track and Field Under-20 Championships. Tanya was to compete in the 400-meter hurdles for only the fourth time. She was ready and confident from the lessons she learned at Penn Relays.
It changed me because it made me stronger, a little wiser, learn the race more, learn the sport more, become more technically sound, and just to make myself better.
Tanya won to qualify for the USA World Junior Team. Tanya would receive a track scholarship to the University of Illinois in June around the same time. Our track club, Norfolk Real Deal, was starting its second summer.
I am so grateful to Gary and Ron Garden, of course, who recruited me, rode through the night to get me because that was almost disastrous. But they both made it an awesome team.
Tanya would go on to have a great career at the University of Illinois, including winning 2 NCAA titles in the 400-meter hurdles, and in 1996 was selected NCAA Athlete of the Year. Before we see how we fared our second summer, let's meet Kermit Foster. In the 1970s, Kermit started a highly successful youth track club, and now he was in charge of the Nike Atlantic Coast professional track team.
In 1992, I had a buddy named Leo Marshall who introduced me to Walt Green. He took me over to Norview High School and introduced me to him. He was working with Tanya Williams on the track, but we just clicked right away, became best friends.
Yes, we did become best friends, and Kermit also became my mentor, along with being a tremendous help to me and to the Norfolk Real Deal Track Club. In 1992, our second summer, we had more than 40 participants in our program from all over the Tidewater area. Our popularity rose thanks primarily to 2 reasons. First was Tanya's sensational season. The second reason was the Real Deal Club name recognition from our weekly lists that were in the newspaper. We also had a boys team composed mostly from our 1991 cross-country team and led by All-American Mike Brown and Robert Leone. Our girls team was very talented and included 2 all-state sprinters, Fatima Joyner and Delina Walker. I asked both to join the track club.
Coach Green approached me and asked, would I like to run summer track? Sure.
2 years earlier, in 1990, as a freshman, Delina helped Lake Taylor High win their section at the Penn Relays.
The first year I went to Penn Relays, my freshman year, and we was dead last of 16 runners. I took us from dead last to second, handed that stick to Rochelle Williams. That's when I ran my 54.3 second quarter.
But she did not run her sophomore year, however made All-State her junior year at Booker T. Washington High School before joining us that summer. At our first meet, the state AAU in June, we qualified 30 athletes for the AAU regionals to be held the following month in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Another big thing happened in June of 1992. The Virginia Pilot newspaper got a new sports editor, Chick Rebel, with an emphasis on local sports. Chick was a sports writer here during the 70s and covered us in high school, including writing this article in 1978 about Bruce. Chick understood the Tidewater area and what made the Tidewater area special. This is what he said at his job interview.
I came in and I said, if you want a hometown newspaper, I can make you a hometown newspaper. You've gotten away from that, but that's what I can bring to the table. Now, if you want to go out and do more with the Redskins and the Colts, I'm not your guy. If you want to do something with Bayside High School and Virginia Wesleyan and Norfolk State and the Admirals and the Tides, I'm your guy. And someone decided I was their guy.
Thank God Chick was the Virginia Palace guy, because that meant local sports coverage was back. That summer, a local AAU hoop team, Boo Williams, led by two future NBA #1 overall draft picks, Allen Iverson and Joe Smith, got good coverage on their way to a national title, and we also got lots of recognition. This is how the rest of our summer transpired. Our club's second meet that summer was on the 4th of July weekend at the National Age Group Championship in nearby Hampton, Virginia. We did very well and had several outstanding performances. Our 17, 18-year-old girls finished third overall to earn our first ever team track trophy. The following weekend, we traveled to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the AAU Regionals. We did outstanding by qualifying 12 athletes for the AAU Junior Olympics to be held in Rochester, Minnesota in 3 weeks. Next was the East Coast Invitational, but we only took 3 athletes. Mike Brown continued his outstanding summer and finished second in the 1500 meters. Like any startup, financing the club was very challenging, so to save money, the boys used the Real Deal cross-country uniforms, while the girl team, thanks to Coach Jackie Hall, used Norview High School uniforms. Also, the athletes paid some of the fees, and we received 2 nice donations from Kermit for the AAU Junior Olympics. We had a great coaching staff that summer. 2 of the coaches were from Lake Taylor High School, who were also the 1992 district track champions. First Lake Taylor coach was
the late Coach Conley. He basically groomed me to take my attitude and put it towards running instead of doing the negative with it, and it made me a better person.
Coach Floyd Conley coached at Lake Taylor for 24 years and was later the head track coach at Norfolk State University. And the other Lake Taylor coach was Cheryl Jennison. Also helping us that summer was retired military veteran and community leader Leo Marshall. Lastly, we were blessed to have Hilton Patterson, who was also a volunteer assistant coach with me at Norview, and Hilton had lots of knowledge and coached 7'4" high jumper Jason Woodard. Hilton was also a tremendous help because he helped me drive the track club to the meets that were held out of town. The final meet of the summer was the AAU Junior Olympics in Rochester, Minnesota, which was a 21-hour road trip. I drove one van and Hilton drove the other car. We drove 12 hours the first day to Toledo, Ohio.
On that trip, we stopped in Ohio. We had a nice time.
The next day, we drove the remaining 9 hours to Rochester, Minnesota.
I do remember the trip to Rochester, Minnesota. It was a long trip. I remember us traveling on a van, multi-person van, making a couple stops.
The city of Rochester, Minnesota treated us and the other 5,500 athletes like celebrities. Also, they allowed us coaches to eat free in many places. Their local newspaper, the Post Bulletin, gave the Junior Olympics exceptional coverage along with the 1992 Olympic Games from Barcelona, Spain. The AAU were very pleased, and so was I, along with the coverage our local paper, the Virginia Pilot, gave us back home in Norfolk. But most of all, I was also pleased with our club's outstanding performance. On the first day, we had a national champion and an All-American. The second day, Mike Brown qualified in the 1500 and our 4x1 relay team competed. The third day saw our boys 4x800 meter relay finish 5th to earn All-American. And on the fourth and final day, Mike Brown became a national champion in the 800 meters and we had 2 All-Americans. Our first Junior Olympics was a huge success with 2 national champions and 7 All-Americans. Now for the long ride back home. However, once we got back to Norfolk, several of our athletes got featured in the newspaper, and our club also got a feature in the paper. That fall, 2 major things happened to me. First, I was a volunteer contributor for the Virginia Pilot, ranking the cross-country runners in the area. And second, I was selected as the head girls track coach at Maury High School, where the previous mentioned basketball star Joe Smith was a senior. Also that fall, we again hosted the Virginia AAU Cross Country Championships and our team finished second at the Nationals. 1993, year 3 of the journey. From 1982 through 2003, the Norfolk Public High Schools did not have indoor track. 2 petitions were filed during this period for reinstatement, one in 1988 by Floyd Conley and the other in 1992 by myself. Both petitions were denied. Therefore, we provided an outlet for some Norfolk athletes to compete.
Norfolk Real Deal was so important because this was finally an opportunity for kids on the south side to be able to train all year round so that you could really compete against that talent that was on the other side.
But we had to travel 4 hours to Hagerstown, Maryland to compete in open meets, and we did very well at those indoor meets. This made a big difference for them during the outdoor season, with several earning All-State, including Jennifer Williams in the 100-meter hurdles and 100-meter dash, Chris White in the 400-meter dash, and Jim Staten was the runner-up in both the 100 meters and 200 meters. When I was selected to coach the 1993 Maury team, this enabled me to coach all 3 Real Deal charter members, having coached Tanya and Tamina the previous year at Norview and now Jennifer at Maury. Our team did very well, finishing 8-0, but we finished second at the district championship. Jennifer led the team and won 3 events at the district along with earning All-Region and All-State. Jennifer also received a track scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh. Also having a great outdoor season was club member Fatima Joyner, who heeded my recommendation from the previous summer.
I remember the recommendation Coach Green gave me that summer. He recommended that I become a quarter miler. He saw the potential in me and realized that that would be my race. And I took his advice and became state champion the next year in the quarter mile.
Now, on to our 3rd year, summer 1993. 2 coaches, Dwayne Miller and Butch Caldwell, joined us that summer in 1993, and they are still with us today in 2019. Butch was a club alum and was only 19 years old then, and Dwayne was a volunteer coach who had helped me at Maury. Dwayne was also very eager to learn.
In 1993 was really my first experience of traveling with the youth club and working with athletes from different schools.
Our first meet was the state AAU meet in Richmond, where we qualified 32 people for the AAU regionals. Next was the National Age Group Championship, a 3-day meet in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Our 17-18-year-old boys team was extremely strong with returning All-American Mike Brown and Rob Leone. Also joining us was indoor All-American Judd Sarver and gifted athlete Rashad Joyner, Fatima's brother. We won 3 events on the first day and also won 3 events on the second day. On the final day, the 17-18-year-old boys team clinched the national championship. This was definitely a very proud moment for Norfolk Real Deal. Our 17-18-year-old girl team also did great and finished second. Next on the schedule was the AAU Regional in nearby Newport News to qualify for the AAU Junior Olympics. We qualified 5 members on the first day and 10 more on the final day. Also, that entire summer, we competed every Wednesday at the HRAA All-Comer Meets at Norfolk Academies. These meets were very beneficial. Our final meet was the AAU Junior Olympics in Knoxville, Tennessee. On the first day, we had 2 members earn All-American, and on the second day, another All-American. On day 3, we had an astonishing 10 more All-Americans, and on the final day, a national champ with Judd Sarver's 1,500-meter win. Our 3rd year was highly successful, and we were establishing ourselves at a national level as a very good track club. Also, we were being compared to local basketball power, Boo Williams. And athletes were not the only ones to benefit from our program.
Working with Rashad was really my first triple jumper. And he was an amazing athlete. He was really dedicated and made me realize that I can actually coach.
And as you continue to follow this journey, you will really understand the significance of that statement. Let's hear that again.
And make me realize that I can actually coach.
Even though we were doing great on the track, lack of finances was still a problem. But that was about to change 3 weeks later, ironically, at the Labor Day Classic at Foreman Field with my alma mater, Virginia State, playing Bruce's alma mater, Norfolk State. Part 4 of this film will be released on September the 23rd and is entirely about cross country. I will start posting shorts around the middle of September.